Hello, and welcome to ElphaWitch. I'm your host, Luna Noir, and it's been a while since I've been on. There's been a lot of things happening in my personal life, and so much happening in this country and across the globe that, I'll be honest, it's been very difficult trying to pull myself out of that crazed mindset to actually sit down and just chillax and just put out a video. I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this way, and especially with all the events that have been happening with Renee Good and Peretti, it's been a bit much. So the reason for this post, it's February 1st, and I would have loved to have put this out earlier so that you guys would have something to utilize for the full moon. This past week has been an ordeal for me. So barring that conversation, I am posting now so that perhaps we may start to make this February a bit more productive. I'm noticing a lot of things happening in, obviously, the government, and I've noticed some witch community things that have been happening where at first I wanted to post regarding, I heard there's apparently Maga Witches, and my first thought was to be angry and judgmental, and then my thought was, I don't know what they're fighting for or what they would utilize magic for. However, I typically tend to think of witches as people who are on the right side of issues, and they're the people that typically get the blame for activism and trying to do the right thing. Now, that being said, I'm not 100% sure what Maga witches are protecting. I do know that this episode is in regards to more about what we have in common as people and witches, not necessarily, the things that we don't like about one another. Because I think that there's plenty that we're all complaining about. The one thing that I do realize is that, for instance, MAGA, they were the first, and this is a kudos to them, to be the first to notice what was happening with the exploitation of children. They really were the ones who were saying something's happening, something's going on, and everyone, were saying it's a conspiracy theory. No, there's no way, and they're just trying to get, Democrats in trouble, and da da da. And my thought was, I felt like there had to be something to it, because how they say wherever there's smoke, there's fire. So that was one of the things that I did, let's just use the lack of a better word, fall for. However, seeing what we know, they were right. They might have, I'm not 100% sure if they got Pizzagate wrong. I think that they were made to look like they had that wrong, but that's just my opinion. But I'm going to say, Democrats, liberals, as much as we looked at them and thought, no, they're just, we had our words. However, they were disparaging words. But I can say that this is one of those things that they were right on the money. And now I'm wondering, what is it that they are trying to protect this administration from? If you were correct that Democrats were doing some shady shit and you wanted to see them pay, what switched the mindset to, was it just hoping to see Democrats pay, or was it really to see children be rescued? Because many of you seemed to really care about the children that were being harmed, to the point that you guys were like, this has to be, you voted people into these high positions of power to uncover this horrific situation. Now, what is it that you are okay with? Was it just to get after just Democrats? Or saving children should be, have you guys gotten to a point where it's like saving the children has to go above and beyond party line? And that's what I would like to just share, that I feel that with all the things that we've learned, if you were on the right side of this from the beginning, why not stay on the right side of things? Because right now it seems that you are comfortable in allowing children to be sexually abused as long as a Republican is doing it. And so I ask, what is that? My next thing is, I have notes, which is something quite different for me. I usually go off the cuff. However, my husband seems to want me to actually use notes to keep my mind on track. So what are some things that both Democrats and Republican Party, MAGA if you will, want? We want safe communities. I don't think anybody is sitting here thinking, hey, who's ever out there, if it's an illegal alien and they're murdering people, please leave them alone because they have rights. No, I don't think anybody is dumb enough to put themselves in that boat. Some people are, let's just be honest. There are some people. However, I think that that's one of those things that we all want safe communities. How do we get there? I think we need to start standing together on this, because the way that it's happening now isn't working. The people who are dying by the hands of our government are not the criminals. I'll be honest. Some people don't like to hear things like this. But if they would have taken out someone who had sexually assaulted a child or murdered a United States citizen because of, whatever, just for this, they just did that, or they were drug runners or something like that, traffickers, I don't think you would have heard too much. Well, I sure as hell would have complained, because it makes sense. That's one less scum. Even though, I will say this, I would not have minded. However, I would have preferred that they had gone the legal route. That they had captured the person and they had their day in court. That's the way we work. However, if a mistake happened like that to a person who actually harmed children and, has ruined a family's loved one, their lives because of a loved one being murdered, I could totally see myself going, do we really, care? But those aren't the people who are dying at this juncture. It's just people like you and like me who are saying, hey, what about our rights? Something, again, that MAGA has always been on the front lines of. They want us to be fighting over this, but I'm just looking for the commonalities. What have you guys shown the rest of us that we should have been looking out for in the first place? The trafficking, government overreach, the Constitution, our rights, and how we need to utilize them, and how, you guys were on the forefront of, Second Amendment. However, I'll say this, the only problem that I think Democrats really have a problem with the Second Amendment right is the fact that when kids were being slaughtered in schools and in kindergartens, and you guys seem to be like, hey, don't take away my guns. We don't care about A, B, C, and D unless it happened to your family specifically. You guys seem to be okay with that. I think that regulations should be in place, and I don't know how that would work. I really don't. I don't think it's taking everyone's guns away, which currently the administration is trying to do. I don't understand why MAGA's not saying, hey, you're not going to, that whole don't tread on me thing, but which I think that's what that was about. Like, you're not going to try to take away my legal rights. And that's one of those things that, I don't know if you noticed, a lot more Democrats started packing heat. And that's, if they want to admit it or not, thanks to MAGA Republicans. They don't want us to agree on these things. They want you to start being complicit and saying, no, if the government says take them away, take them away. But you guys are the ones to lose the most. You guys have put a lot of money into your collections. So I don't know. Maybe it's something to think about. Let's see. Obviously, Constitution, yeah. I think we're all on agreement on freedom of speech and being able to say the things that we want to say. It's not fair, and I'll be honest, when I think of freedom of speech, I don't want to be disparaging towards just a regular American. I know that sounds weird, like I have, certain levels of, loyalties or ethics. I don't necessarily want to just talk shit to just I don't care about hurting a regular person. We're all going through it. We're all going through a lot of issues. At the same time, I don't believe that threatening people is a good thing. I don't think that doxing a person's information is helpful. I do believe that people being able to discuss their displeasure about the government is fine. I don't think that freedom of speech is supposed to be one of those things where we're supposed to hold our tongue. Like I said, it just caught my train of thought. When I was young, I didn't say things to people so that they just knew that I was mad. I said things to make sure that it cut and it hurt, from a person's intelligence, looks, ethnicity, whatever it was. When I was a kid, everything was fair game. It didn't matter. You had a lisp, boy, I had at least 10, comebacks or something like that. And that's, I think, part of that freedom of speech thing. That, yeah, is it nice? No. And as we get older, should we elevate ourselves to, not necessarily, trying to cut people at the quick, or to the quick? Yeah. But most people who were born in the 1900s, back in our day, we used to call people horrible things. Now, I've probably used everything. I've used every single word to every single body. And it didn't matter if it wasn't necessarily ethnically appropriate for that person. When I grew up, there's certain people that only use the N-word for black people. And that wasn't me. Because when I grew up, I was always taught that word was ignorance. It only meant ignorance. And I was like, okay, not that my parents taught me that, because they're from Puerto Rico. So they didn't really have those sorts of words, because Puerto Ricans look like everybody. So you can't necessarily call someone out their name for their color when, that could be your mom who's that dark and you came out blonde hair, blue eyed. So we didn't, at least not in my family, we never grew up with using words like that, or like for white people, the whole, I'm going to put crackers up here, or like there's not too many good white names and stuff like that to utilize and stuff. So my parents weren't the type of people to use those sort of words. I know that when my dad went to work and he was around a lot of the clear folk, they taught him all sorts of words that when he came home, he was like, hey, did you know that they said that I look like this? And I was like, ugh, Dad, you're not supposed to say those words. And why are they calling you that? And they're like, because they said that, I look black. And I'm like, well, Dad, you are a dark man, and, you're Puerto Rican. And he's like, yeah, but they said that it's okay, it's cool. And I was like, they're trying to get you in trouble. So my father did not understand all the bad words he was being taught. So I didn't learn from them, but when I went to school, you heard everyone using the N-word, the honky and cracker and all sorts of, and of course, the R word, which is retard and things like that. And it was like, even the teachers, not even gonna lie, I went to a Catholic school and they would say, we think that this child is retarded, because they used it as the Webster's Dictionary said. They are, their brain hasn't fully developed, or they are lagging in concepts. And, like our president, you can literally factitiously, oh hell, I think I might have just put myself in a category. Factually, there you go, put him as retarded. I don't think that that would be inappropriate to say. He does not have the proper mental faculties to be in the position that he's in. Should I be considered, I don't know what the words I'm trying to utilize right now, an infraction, that I've done because I'm utilizing actual words that are pertinent for that person and a person of his caliber? No. And because I say it doesn't mean so. I don't think that people should be afraid to use their voice. No one should be afraid to say what's on their mind. Most of us don't like the words that come out of, MAGA. A lot of MAGA don't like what comes out of my mouth, and I don't care. And I think that it's one of those things that people should be able to say the things that they want to say, because people are angry. It's appropriate when you're upset to say things that make sense to you. Now, that being said, yeah, you shouldn't say that all people, you shouldn't be inciting riots and for trying, like, I think that if you're telling people, hey, let's go and do A, B, C, and D, to harm people and stuff like that, okay, I don't think that's necessarily protected under our rights, because you are actually trying to harm people. That being said, we've always been taught words don't, what is it? Yeah, I'm having a hard time right now. I just realized. I'm buzzing. Great. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Those types of conversations and words and stuff like that, I get it. A lot of people don't like the fact that people are getting angry at each other at stores and then cussing each other out. I get it. But when a person's angry, they're not... I know that if I was upset and I was having a heated discussion with someone, I'm not looking to make them feel better. I'm looking to cut, and I'm looking to cut deep. And I understand that. That's human nature. The way we grew up, we weren't trying to we were hoping that our words made you have the worst day ever, and that you would go home and think about, damn, they said this about me. I know people have done it to me, and I was like, ooh, they got me good. But you let it go. Now, do I think that there is an age limit for that? Yes. I don't think that adults should be harassing and hurting children with the same vigor that we give to adults. So I think that's different. Do I think that people should be assaulting people by approaching them and in a way that's harmful? No, because that's called assault. It's one thing if you want to talk crap about me from over there, but once you start bringing it up to my doorstep or into my private space, that becomes a crime. It's no longer about freedom of speech. It's about my protection and my feeling of being threatened, or anyone, for that matter. So I think there's a difference, and we need to pay attention to those subtle nuances that I think a lot of Democrats, they're a little bit more sensitive to that. They feel like someone cussing them out is just the worst thing that could have ever happened to them. If it is done to them with children present, I think that's different, because now you're psychologically harming a mind that is not developed in understanding what's happening, and that's different. But if someone was to just chew my ass out just for the sake of chewing me out and stuff like that, I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to sit there and be like, let me grab a slice of pie and just swallow this down. At the same time, depends on what I did. There's been times that it's only happened a couple of times, that I made a mistake. I might have cut someone off, and that person pulled up and cussed me out. And you know what my reaction was? I'm sorry. That's my bad. And that's it. Now, if it was something that they did it to me, and I'm like, and then they rolled down their window, I'm like, what the fuck? You're the one who did did me dirty. Fuck you. But that's as far as it should have to go. You see what I'm saying? At the same time, if you're out there shopping and stuff, you shouldn't be going to people's jobs and stuff and trying to ruin their day and getting in their face and stuff. It's not appropriate. It's not. So I think that we as people should start paying attention to the things that really matter, because all of us just taking sides on something that we should all be on the same side, I think we could really change some things for the better. Because MAGA has to understand that though you guys used to be on the right side of everything that we're trying to fight for now, you have to understand that the people that you put in charge have duped you, and that your anger should not necessarily be towards the people who are like, what were you thinking? That was stupid. You got to just at least own it and say, you know what? We did get duped, but this is what we can do to change it. And the ones who really don't care, the Republican Party really needs to distance themselves from that. And I'm not saying, because I already know the midterms, there's not going to be a chance in hell, a snowball's chance in hell, that Republicans are getting anywhere near the House and Senate. You guys, they have really screwed the pooch on that one. However, when it comes times to 2028, I'm hoping there's a third party for everyone, because the Democrats, they have not done enough. In my opinion, they haven't done enough. The Republicans are just trying to hide as much shit about their own party so that they could keep fucking little kids and kidnapping, families and putting people in jail, Americans, it doesn't matter. They're literally just trying to save themselves. And the Democrats who are allowing it have been paid to allow it to happen. So we need a third party, and a third party that all of us can get behind. Because I think we need the Dems there just to squash this Republican Party and to remove the Democrats, really. And MAGA Witches, I heard that you guys were out there. And like I said, I don't know what side of the equation you're really on. And I'm just hoping that if you're on the side of protecting children, still people having constitutional rights, and wanting to have a better life, then I think we're on the same page. But I'm just hoping that while we're hoping that everyone, I guess I'm a Democratic witch, where I'm hoping that they put, if I don't care who is on the list. We already know it's Clinton. We already know. Hell, I even saw something that showed, and I don't know what their purpose was, but Lisa Marie Presley is shown. We already know that Trump's there because they are hiding him as much as Elon Musk. All these people are in those papers. And I'm going to say, excuse me, I'm getting to the point. Chill. Oh. All I'm saying is, if your name is not on the list, you should be hoping that everyone who is on the list gets prosecuted, regardless of party line. That's all I'm saying. And that's all of us. If you're watching this, I'm so sure you're not on that list. And that's what you should be striving for. Any witch who tries to get this under control for the right reasons, I'm happy. Because I figure it this way. If Maga witches are trying to get all the Democrats prosecuted for being on the list and doing horrible things, I hope you guys win, because the rest of us are going to be doing not only for Democrats, but also for Republicans. Do you see what I'm saying here? So let this February be a time of empowerment, not only for yourself and your party, but for everyone. Because we're getting screwed from all different sides, and they keep telling us it's the other guy. We should be a little bit better than that. And I feel that we need more people to realize the true issues. It's this whole, everyone keeps dusting up the religious aspects, and we need to look at things kind of black and white. If we know that you're taking advantage of our country, you're no good for us. We're not going to put people in power who you're paying off. We all know who that is. I'm going to put a picture somewhere of that dirtbag and his party. If you're a person who's just trying to screw over our media and our free press, I hope to God, like TikTok, I don't know if you noticed, I'm not on that bitch no more. They asked me to agree, and I said, nope, I'd rather delete, and I deleted it. And I feel bad because I had 380 people at one point, and I was so excited. I was so happy for those subscribers and stuff like that. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. But there's no way that I was going to give Ellison any power over me in that capacity. There's no reason to. So we have to protect ourselves. This whole data mining thing, they're making billions off of us people. We need to stand together, because at some point you might be looking at me hoping that, something horrific happens to me, yet bad stuff's happening to you because they're watching you and they're stealing your information. And it's going to happen to everyone if we don't get a hold of this. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be off. I feel like I've gotten what I wanted to say. And this part is kind of a ritual part. So I'm going to put my stick down for a second. Get a tight, close look of me, but not of me reading my paper. So full moon guardianship. Protection, clarity, and collective responsibility. That's the goal here. Excuse me, I just realized again, I am not wearing a bra, but guess what? These girls want to hang, and I'm just fine with it. Light a candle for truth and protection. Now, if you don't have a candle, light a white candle for truth and protection. If you do not perchance have a white candle. I don't care what you light. It could be a piece of a circular that you got in the mail. Just a little bit of, fire, however you can. It could be a candle. It could be any candle. If it's not white, it doesn't matter. It could be a used birthday candle. Use what you have. A toothpick. I've done magic spells with a toothpick before. And to be fair, intention matters because good things happened. If you can, place a copy of the Constitution. Or you don't have to, if you can't print off the Constitution, perhaps the constitutional rights that matter most to you. Put that as your focus. And now I'm going to read from this paper. Speak aloud. One right you believe is currently misunderstood, ignored, or threatened. Name the fear or confusion that has been kept from people exercising that right. Declare a boundary, what you will no longer accept in silence. Close by committing a small, lawful action you will take this month to remain informed, connected, or protective of others. And this is the closing intention. This is the closing intention. We stand as guardians, not as conquerors. We protect what belongs to the people through clarity, care, and conscious action. Now, I will be doing something like this tonight, since it's the full moon. I might record, not sure, I guess I could record a little bit and post it to Instagram. So even if you see this later, this is a ritual that you can do at any point. Heck, even after our rights are all protected, you should still want to keep those, because as you could see how easily your rights can be violated. So at any point you can use this. But tonight since it is the 1st of February and it's a full moon, I will be doing a little bit of a bonfire and perhaps posting it on Instagram, which will automatically go to Facebook. And I think it's called Upscroll, because as soon as TikTok went to, I had already had an Upscroll account, and I hope I'm saying that right. If not, I will be placing it right here. I definitely needed to get out of there. So I know these videos, I tend to ramble, but at least I kept my ideas straight. And I'm hoping that, I'm hoping that anyone who sees this video sees it as a positive and a little bit more uplifting, because this past year, I know for myself, I've been very angry and my mood has been very dark. And I know I've said some stuff that is probably, I don't think I've gotten myself on a watch list or anything like that, because I don't think I've said anything that would be, that would, no. Wishes, I don't think wishes count. Do wishes count? Oh, I forgot to introduce my buddy here. He's part of he's not part of the Illuminati, because he's been standing there quite quiet. However, these are, I guess, the focus should be on persons who try to work in the shadows against us. And that's today's episode, is trying to uncover all who try to pit us against each other, so that we're not working as one. We could be so much better, neighbors, friends, citizens to one another, and truly help each other. Because I don't see, obviously in this day and age, they really want us to see black and white and brown and every color in between. They really want us to just focus. But the people that I've noticed in my dealings, I'm sure that some of them voted in a way that I wished they hadn't. And at the same time, sometimes you really have to think why. What was their reason? And if it was because they really thought they were going to be protecting children, or that they really were going to be protecting the Constitution and our rights and things like that, you can understand something like that. Because I really don't believe that. And if they thought that they were protecting our communities from people who are illegally here that are harming and murdering our friends and family and our citizens, you can understand why a person, oh shoot, I almost felt like I was going to get emotional. You can understand why a person would do that. And they're utilizing the media to make us hate one another. And we really don't have a reason to, when they are the ones who are purposefully trying to make a mountain out of a molehill between us, when the only thing that we should be focused on is uncovering the people that are harming our children, who are harming families, and who are murdering our citizens. We really need to get together on this one and put the party line shit aside. I do believe we can do this, and I know in the midterms there's going to be a lot of MAGA that's going to vote for the right thing to do. And at that point, we need a new word. We need a new word, a new party, and a new acronym for the United People. Because, like I said, Democrats ain't doing enough. They're not. There's some people you could tell who are being shut down and told to shut up. And then there's those Democrats that are just like, I've already got paid, so let what happens. And we can't have those people in our politics anymore. But we also need to make sure we remove all these Republicans that are truly harming us. Because it's not just through the horrific nature of harming our children, but it's our food, it's our jobs. How many people have lost their jobs because of AI and downsizing because now I got a machine who could do it better than you? People who can't find a job no matter what's happening. Families who have at least, 2 and 3 jobs to try to take care of, 5 people and still can't manage it. They are harming us, and we need to focus. Witches, unite. We got to do better. We have to focus. So if you're seeing this, contact me through Instagram, Facebook. I don't really get any traction on Facebook, but if you want, follow me on Facebook. Let's change that, and let's talk. All right. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope everyone, seriously, has a blessed month. And if we could have a little bit of respite, it'd be great. It would really be great, because I could definitely use less stress. And I know you can too. Blessings.